Welcome back everybody to another video. It's Taj and today we're going to be opening this. It is OPO, well, One Piece card game Japanese starter deck ST12. Now I got this the same time as I got the ST11 Uta deck, which was what, back in mid-December I think. Since then I've got the ST13 starter deck as well, so we're going to get into that in another video. But let's start off with this. Now this is very unique. It's the first starter deck that's got a dual leader type. We've had dual color leaders, but no leaders with two leaders as one. And yes, we have got the two Straw Hat crew members who are always have got a love-hate relationship really, as they respectively call each other Mosshead and Stupid Chef, or Zoro and Sanji. Let's have a look at the deck box. Shows you how many cards we've got in there in Japanese, obviously. 1 leader, 2 event, 14 character cards. And yeah, let's just get into the box and see what we get. Now obviously that Uta deck that I went through earlier on with you guys, there is, I don't know when you guys are watching this video, but there is a tournament, well not a tournament, a sealed event where you can take part in using the Uta ST11 starter deck and win some prizes and get some participation promos. So definitely worth checking that one out. So check my video to know what's in that deck. But let's crack on with this one here. First of all, let's have a look at the play mat. This is just your generic, teach you how to play, how to do each move, essentially, you know, what you get in a standard starter deck. So that's that. And then on the back of it, you got a very generic playmat. But we've seen all of this before, so we don't need to go through this. We are going to go through the starter deck, aren't we? So let's open it up, have a look. Traditional Japanese style, you have got this band around it. You pull it to open it, or you can slide it off. And let's see if there's any card damage due to it. A little bit of wear there, but it's mainly on the Don cards, so that's not too bad. As standard, you do get your 10 Don cards in these decks, so you can play off the bats straight away, and we can see some of the nice cards already in this deck. So let's start off with our wonderful leader card, shall we? Let's bring the camera down a little bit so you guys can see this nice and clear. This has got really nice texturing on it. Let's move all the other cards out of the way and let's have a look at this. Our dual leader. So it is a bit like our ultimate decks or ultra decks, where you have got texturing on this particular leader card. So very nice indeed. It's got your traditional alt art sort of zigzaggy sort of line there. So very nice. But what does this do? So it's Rono, Zoro and Sanji. It's obviously card number 1 in the set. Straw Hat crew. It's a category leader. It is a blue-green type leader, so it is 4 life you get from this one. It has got 5,000 power, and its attribute is slash and strike, obviously to represent both Sanji and Zoro. We don't have too many cards that mention slash or strike. Don't mention the attributes, but that is becoming more and more common now. And there are cards like Buggy, you know, you can't here with the slash character, for example. So yeah, different things there. So what does this card do? So for Don ×1, so you attach 1 Don card to it when attacking once per turn, you may return one of your characters with a cost of 2 or more to your hand, and then you set up to one of your characters with 7,000 power or less as active. Really, really useful. It's a bit like restanding Eustace Kid, except you're only paying 1 and you're having to pick up a 2 cost. So you are paying a similar cost, but there are ways to cheat out 2 costs in this deck. So this can be quite an efficient deck. You can mess around with this, tweak certain other cards in here, use cards in here in other decks as well. So really, really looking forward to seeing this deck and talking through it with you guys. So that's our leader. We'll pop that to one side. And let's have a look at our first SR card. So we have got 2 copies. This is pretty standard in any starter deck. I always tell everyone, and I've done this myself since starter deck 1, buy 2 copies of every single deck. Whether you think you need the cards now or not, you might come 3-4 sets later, those cards suddenly become playable and they're going to be needed in a deck that you want to build. and you're not going to have access to them because the starter decks are no longer available or very scarce or very expensive. So do yourself a favor, buy 2 starter decks every time a starter deck comes out. That's my little tip for the day. Okay, so this is card 3 in the set, Dracul Mihawk. He is a 7 Warlords of the Sea Muggy Kingdom type card. His on-play effect is if you have 2 or less characters, play up to 1 Muggy Kingdom type or / attribute character card with a cost of 4 or less other than Dracul Mihawk from your hand rested. So rested, remember that. This is a 4,000 power 3 cost character, 2,000 counter though as well, which is huge. To have a character that can do that and have 2,000 counter is very good indeed. So yeah, / type character, really good. 2 copies in this deck. Let's move on, shall we? Our next SR card is everyone. Well, one of my favorite characters, especially after watching Impel Down, Impel Down and Marineford, is Emporio Ivankov-san. Impel Down, Revolutionary Army character, as 4,000 power, 3 cost to play, 1,000 counter, is attribute special, and is blue in color, obviously. This one is on play, reveal 1 card from the top of your deck and play up to 1 character card with a cost of 2. Basically saying reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a 2 cost character, you can play it. If it's not, then you place a card either at the top or bottom of your deck. And when attacking once per turn, you draw 1 card if you have 6 or less cards in your hand. So really, really useful card. You got some you can cheat out a character, obviously. You can also, when attacking, draw cards, which helps a lot. Yeah, I will probably try and tech this into my Nami deck when this comes out in English, because yeah, it gets you to draw a card. So, and I can play a Kaya off the top of my deck if I have one. So yeah, that's me thinking about my Nami deck. But let's move on. Let's move on now. So those are our SRs and our leader out of the way. Let's move on to our first common card. So here we've got, and I do apologize if I am saying this wrong, Kina is a Frostmoon Village character with 2,000 power, 3 cost, and 1,000 counter. She's got a trigger ability, play this card. Simple as, just play this card. No need to trash a card or anything, so you can play her straight off. And you may rest this character, so you can activate main. You may rest this character, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. That's pretty sweet, pretty nice ability there to be able to rest opponent's characters. You could put this into purple black deck maybe, where black you've already reduced the cost of your opponent's characters. That could work well, but in the context of this, it's quite good for resting your opponent's blockers on play. So that's really, really so it's activate main. You can do that once per turn. You don't need to do it on play, so that's pretty good. 4 copies of that being a common. And then going back to Muggy Kingdom, we've got one of those monkeys that trained good old Zoro when he was there in the 2 years time skip. We've got Homandrill. Homandrill is a vanilla 3 cost, 5,000 power. If you don't know what vanilla means it doesn't have any abilities. So it's literally a card that you play. It's going to be standard, which is 3 cost, 5,000 power. It's usually, your power is usually 2,000 more than what your cost is. So like if it's a 3 cost, it's 5,000. If it's 2 cost, it's 4,000. That's a vanilla generically, and 1,000 counter. And that's what it is. Its attribute is wisdom. Yeah, and nothing really much else to say. And its typing is animal and Muggy Kingdom. So you can play that in an animal deck or a Muggy Kingdom deck as well. Talking of 2 types, we have got someone who's banished to a Muggy Kingdom as well, spent her time there with Zoro and Mihawk. It is Perona herself. There we go, Perona, very popular character. She's got her own deck coming out in OP06 as well. She's a vanilla as well, 1,000 power, 4 cost, 6,000 power. She's Muggy Kingdom, Thriller Bark Pirates. And yeah, her attribute is special as well. Okay, let's move on. We're going to go back to the East Blue now for the next card. So we have got 4 copies of another common card, which is Yasaku and Johnny, good old friends of Zoro, pre-Straw Hat Crew Zoro. Yeah, Don times 1. Their effect is when attacking, choose one of these 2 options. You can rest one of your opponent's characters at a cost of 2 less, or you can KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 2 or less. So there are 2 costs, 3000 power, 1000 counter character. As I said, their typing is East Blue, and their attribute is Slash on this one. So 4 copies of that in the deck. Sticking with East Blue, we have got that famous moment where we first get introduced to Zoro, and it is Rika giving her rice bowls to Zoro while he's tied out in the yard there. Rika is a 0 power, 2 cost, 2000 counter character from the East Blue with the attribute of Wisdom, and her effect is on play, rest 2 Don, and if your opponent has 3 or more life cards, set one of your Slash attribute characters with a cost of 4 or less as active. So as I was talking about these attributes, we haven't seen many cards in the past mention attributes, but this deck is mentioning them a lot. So this one's about Slash attributes. So you rest one of your, if your opponent's got 3 or more life cards, you can reactivate one of your Slash attribute characters with a cost of 4 or less. So that's pretty nice. Okay. But I think the important thing with this one is it's an East Blue green card with 2000 counter, so that's pretty cool. Okay, we're going to move on now to our first Zoro card, only Zoro card in the set other than the events, obviously, is a 4 cost 6000 Zoro. No counter on this one, but it does have attach 1 Don. When attacking, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. That's pretty huge. That will rest pretty much most blockers that your opponent has got. That then puts Zoro up to 7000 power. Zoro can swing for 7000, having blocked one of your opponent's blockers. You can then use a leader ability to reactivate this if you keep it at 7000 power, and do that again. So swing again and rest another character, because you're going to be attacking again. It'll be a new attack. So that's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet indeed. Okay, let's move on now to another vanilla character. This one's animal type, Elephant True Bluefin. Elephant True Bluefin is vanilla, 1 cost, 3000 power, and it's got 1000 counter, and it's just an animal type blue card with strike attribute. So let's pop that down there. We then move on to our Sanji card for the deck. So this Sanji card is 2 cost, 3000 power, Straw Hat Crew type. It's got strike attribute, as mentioned before. Effect, Don times 1. So you add a Don to this. When attacking, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, this character gains plus 2000 power until the start of your next turn. So that means even on your opponent's turn, this is going to be a 5000 power character. A bit more difficult for them to remove once you swung with this. Sanji cards do love to gain 2000 power or do stuff like that. So this is, yeah, really, really nice card. And it, as I said, it's got strike attributes, and it's a common. 2 copies of that in this deck. Then we've got our only Big Mom card in this set, which is another 2000 counter, and it is good old Charlotte Pudding. She's had a few cards out now, I think. Has she not? Charlotte Pudding, Big Mom Pirate. She is a Wisdom attribute, 2000 power, 2 cost to play it, 2000 counter as well, and her effect is activate main, return this character to the owner's hand. Now you might be thinking, okay, why would you want to return this character to the owner's hand? Well, I'll show you why, because we've got ways to cheat her out. So you obviously want to use the leader effect, which is pick up a 2 cost and then you can restand something. But if you've already done that and then you bring this out, you don't want to leave her exposed, because you might have bought her out rested. Then you can put her in your hand and you've got 2000 counter in your hand. So let's talk about that. Next card, we've got 4 copies of good old Sanji's mentor, Zeph. Zeph is East Blue type character, 5 cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter, strike attributes, common card in this set. Cost, like I said, this card has got something that'd be useful with Charlotte Pudding. So effect, on play, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and place them either at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. When attacking, reveal 1 card from the top of your deck and play up to 1 character card with a cost of 2 rested. Then place the rest at the top or bottom of your deck. So you can essentially, when attacking, if you've shuffled the top of your deck or rearranged it in one way or another, you can know that you're going to get Charlotte Pudding. You can attack with Zeph. You will then put Charlotte Pudding in play rested. You don't want it to be exposed next turn. You can use your leader ability to pick her up, or you can just use her ability to pick her up. So yeah, good way to get a 2,000 counter in hand, but also to be able to trigger your leader ability if you don't have anything on the field to do that. So good little combo there with the Zeph. Let's move on. 2 copies now of this common card, which is Duval, who was obviously desperate to deal with Sanji, but they became very good friends after that, to the point the Flying Fish Riders are very good allies of the Straw Hat crew. But you guys might know that story, or you will learn the story once you get through the anime or manga to that point. But let's get on with this one. So yeah, type, the Flying Fish Rider character. Effect, it's a blocker, which is great. You always want some blockers in a deck, and this is your only blocker in this deck. Very aggro deck, with only 2 blockers in it. On play, look at the top 3. Look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck and place them at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So again, on play, you can do that. Zeph. Then, if you know what's on the top of your deck, Zeph can attack. You can then get a 2 cost. You know what I'm talking about here. Now we discussed this, so that's what it's about. Strike attribute, 1,000 power, 2 cost to play it. Yeah, that is Duval. We then move on back to Zeph's crew, and we have got Patty and Kane again. Patty and Kane are East Blue characters with a cost of 2, 4,000 power vanilla, 1,000 counter, and they've got slash attribute. That's pretty much it. Nothing much else to say about them. And then finally, we're going to go on to our 2 event cards. So Sanji and Zoro have both got an event card which they are represented in. The first one is featuring Zoro, and it's called Lion Strike. This is a 2 cost event. It's got a trigger as well. Activate this card's main effect, so you can activate it for free. But the interesting thing is you can activate it during your main or as a counter for when your opponent is attacking you. You rest up to one of your opponent's leaders or character cards with a cost of 4 or less. Very useful. Could be game winning, where you use this in your turn to rest a blocker, or you could obviously have this in your hand, have that 2-don open, know that your opponent's going to swing at you and they think they've got game, but then you rest one of their characters which they haven't attacked with yet, and you can keep yourself open for another turn. So yeah, can be used very effectively as a blocker almost. Then we move on to the final card in the deck, which is Plastic Surgery Shot. Very appropriate with Duval in this deck that Sanji has a card called Plastic Surgery Shot. This is an event card, obviously only costs 1 to activate, but you can only activate it as a counter. It's a common blue event card, and up to one of your leaders or characters gains plus 2,000 power during this battle. Then reveal 1 card from the top of your deck, play up to 1 character. So you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a 2 cost character, you can play it. If it's not, put it at the top or bottom of your deck. Simple as that. So again, quite good. Gives you counter, also gets you to put a character in play, a 2 cost character in play if you've positioned it there. So that's it, that's the deck. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts about what cards are useful in this deck, what you've really liked about this deck. Do you like the mechanics of how this works? You know, it lets you restand stuff. There are going to be things you can tech into this deck and make it a bit more exciting. Tell me in the comments below what your plans are with this deck when it comes out in English. I really think this looks amazing. Really good to finally get our first dual leader card. Couldn't be more appropriate. Zoro and Sanji, love both those characters, love the dynamics between them. They love to hate each other, but really they got each other's backs. They are two very complementary characters in the Straw Hat crew. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. Hope to see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.